What I'm about to say, I'm sure it's not going to come as a surprise to anybody, but everybody's broke. They're broke mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. They have no idea how to get out of any of it, how to beat any of it. Throughout our lives, we've been told that it's okay to borrow money. And in order to get ahead, we need to borrow money. We need to finance a nice car. We need to make payments to somebody because that's actually getting ahead. Some people have even used how much money they borrowed as a measurement of success. Meanwhile, they're in debt up to their eyeballs, and they think that it's okay to go borrow more. America doesn't have an income problem. The world doesn't have an income problem. What America has is a spending problem. Too many people are okay with being mediocre, and being average is okay. It's acceptable to most of us. The education system has failed us. The education system is designed to teach you how to consume, produce, and comply. When I say produce, I don't mean produce for yourself. I mean produce for somebody else with your compliance. We're being taught to lay down and put our heads in the sand and just take what comes our way. Leverage ourselves with debt and get stuck in a rut. Get stuck in that 9-to-5 job that we all have, and then we go out and we finance everything. And it's not just the car. It's not just the house. It's a totality of everything that we're buying, everything that we're consuming. It's an accumulation of consumption. It's an accumulation of bad decisions. We get stuck in 9-to-5 jobs that we hate, but then the next shiny object comes up and we finance it. Whether it's a car, a nice ring, an expensive, elaborate wedding, whatever. We're leveraging it. We're leveraging ourselves almost to the edge of extinction. We're stretching ourselves so thin that we feel like we'll never be able to see the light of day. When we're stuck in this moment where we feel like we won't be able to see the light of day, our future seems bleak. The outlook of life seems like we'll never be able to get out of it. We say we don't know how to get away from our consumption issue, or how to get ahead. That's not true. We all know how to get ahead, and we can all get ahead. Every one of us. If we want to get ahead, if we want to do something great, we have to break off. We have to break off from that 9-to-5 job. We have to set ourselves up for a financial future that we want. We all know, we do know how to help our situation, how to fix our situation. What we don't know how to do is how to let go of our ego. It takes a special kind of person to get rid of their car, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 car, $30,000 car, whatever, and then go out and spend $2,500 on a beater to get them to and from work. It takes a special kind of person to realize that they're stuck in that job that they hate because of that car. We become attached to objects and things like our car. We become comfortable in all of our situations. At least we become what we believe is comfortable, what we believe is acceptable. And the truth is, our everyday life is painful, but it's all we know. So we choose to stay there instead. We're afraid to make big decisions. We're afraid of what other people will think of us when we're driving that $2,000 car, even a $1,000 car. So we'll continue essentially torturing ourselves, living a life that we're unhappy with, putting on a persona, being fake, so that we can keep that fancy car, keep that fancy house, live that fancy lifestyle, and not know what the damage, not understand the damage that we're doing to our life and our future. At some point in your life, you have to realize there's nobody coming to save you. It's not going to happen. At some point in your life, you have to be able to retire. Social Security is about dead. It's going to be Social Security will be dead in only a couple of years. Even still, would you be able to live off of $1,200 to $1,800 a month? How are you going to better your situation? 4.5 years is all I have left of my job. And my wife Robin and I will be retiring early. We've set ourselves up for success. We realized in our 20s things had to change. We realized that there was nobody coming to save us. Neither one of us are from wealthy families. We're not going to be getting any inheritance. And even still, that's not an answer to becoming wealthy. To truly become wealthy, it's something that you have to earn. Because if you become wealthy and you haven't actually earned it, you're going to lose it just as fast as you gained it. Oftentimes you're going to be in a worse off situation than when you started. Because like I said earlier, your problem isn't an income problem. It's a spending problem. Even if you're only making $50,000 a year, which is actually higher than the average person will make, you can still set yourself up for success in the future. We're never taught to pay ourselves first. We're never really taught to invest our money well or wisely. School doesn't teach you that. In fact, they teach you to go into debt as soon as you graduate high school. They tell you it's a necessity to go to college. It's necessary for you to accumulate a whole bunch of student loan debts. When all of that is BS. There's no need for any of it. We're taught that we need to go to Ivy League colleges on top of that. We're not taught that it's okay to go to junior college for a couple of years if your future employer or future career requires a degree. You think that going to Yale or Harvard is a good idea, and accumulating $100,000 a year for a gender studies degree that has no marketable employment. Then once people graduate college, they want to blame the system. They want to blame everybody else for their, they want to blame everybody else for their poor decisions that they made in their early 20s, late teens, where they accumulated all that student loan debt. Now they expect the government to come and bail them out, or the people of the United States to bail them out. I don't have a college degree. My wife doesn't have a college degree. To be successful in the world, to become a high income earner, it doesn't require a college degree. It does require you to think outside of the box. It does require you to find an employer besides fast food or the grocery store that you worked at as a teenager. I want you to understand that there's nothing wrong with those people that are working those jobs. My mom was she was a cashier. She worked in the grocery store for over 20 years. Robin's mom did too. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking what people do for a living at all. I think it's admirable. It's just not for me. And I think that if that's what you're doing for a career, if that's the choice that you want to have, that's cool. That is perfectly okay. But you have to be able to figure out something else for your future. What do you have that is a marketable skill or trade where you can make money outside of your employer, outside of your 9-to-5 workplace? In fact, a good friend of mine, I mentioned him on yesterday's video, Caleb. He's been in grocery for 27 years. He's a wonderful guy. One of the most genuine, amazing people I know. He's got a YouTube channel called The Woodchucker. Go check him out. Good friend of mine and a wonderful person. But he works his ass off outside of his 9-to-5. He's securing his future. He's doing something that people aren't willing to do. He is not an average person by any means. I don't hang out with average people. If you're remembering you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. If you remember that, you'll understand why I don't hang out with average people. Why I don't hang out with losers. Going out and getting shit-faced and getting hammered. It doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't appeal to me at all. Focusing on my future, that's what appeals to me. That's what I want to. That's where my focus goes. So we have to remember, especially if you're in your 20s or 30s, like I said, there's nobody coming to save you. So at what point are you going to set yourself up to where you can actually retire someday? Especially knowing that the cost of living is only going to continue to go up. Financially surviving is only going to get harder. What are you doing for your future? What does your future look like? So let's say the first step to benefiting our future is to sell that car that you have financed. How much does that change your life? You get rid of a car that you owe $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on. How much does that change your life? How much stress does that alleviate from your life? How much stress does that alleviate from your marriage? I'm all about getting hobbies. I'm all about keeping yourself occupied. I think it's necessary. You have to find something in this life that you truly love to do. It's absolutely necessary. But if you're living a financial nightmare, you need to make sure to tackle that first so that you can get away from that JOB. While you have a JOB, that's the time to get away from the one that you have already and go get a raise. When I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was working in a factory in Phoenix. I was building Sub-Zero refrigerators. I hated it, absolutely hated it. And I was able to get a job installing air conditioners, doing construction. They didn't pay squat. I think back then I was making like $8 an hour. I was still taking home like $600 a week, but that's because I was working 16-hour days in the Arizona heat. But while I was doing that job, the pay wasn't good enough. I had to work way too hard to earn my money. So what I ended up doing was I looked up plumbers. Plumbers made way more than I was. I mean, probably 5 to 6 times more than I was. I was making maybe $30,000 a year, maybe. And the plumbers were making upwards of 60, 70, even 100 a year. Now, this was back in late 90s, early 2000s. So I found the largest plumbing company in the Phoenix area. Construction plumbing company was about a half mile from my house. So I went and applied. They hired me. So I went back to the air conditioning company that I worked for, and I told my boss that I found another job that was going to pay me substantially more. Right off the bat, they were going to double my hourly wage. And they were training me. So my boss at the air conditioning company, he's like, well, I mean, if you're turning in your notice, I don't need you any longer. So, cool. I left there and I went back to the plumbing company and I told them, hey, they didn't want the 2-week notice. They were upset that I was quitting. So they hired me right on the spot. I started the next day. And that started my first venture to a 6-figure income at about 19, 20 years old. Once I was able to become a piece worker, my income just absolutely exploded. I was willing to put in 16-hour days, finish 2 houses a day. I did underground work. I was swinging a sledgehammer, pounding rebar, doing, well, they're called rough-ins. Some plumbers call them soils. So what I ended up doing, what I'm getting at, is I was able to use that JOB that wasn't paying me very well. I was able to look outside the box and think, how can I do this? How can I increase my wage? Because this wage ain't working. Once again, I stepped outside of my comfort zone and I went for something that I thought there was no way that I would be able to obtain. I obtained it. Finding a job working for a power company over at a power plant, or like if you're in the PNW, like near me, you could work in the ferry system. They pay pretty good. But they have a hard time finding people because of the people aren't willing to sacrifice the first 6 months to a year of being on call. Because the way the ferry system works is once you're hired and you're just a general seaman, a deckhand, then you have to be on call. And you could be on call and they could call you at any time. And people aren't willing to do that. They're not willing to sacrifice that. But then in the future, they could be making $80 an hour as a captain of those ferries. $80 an hour. When it comes to our employment, we need to look at it more as a investment in our future, investment in the rest of our lives. We have to sacrifice a little bit to gain a lot in the future. We did the same thing, Robin and I, when it came down to the employer that I'm working for right now, the career that I have. We had to pack up once again, move across the country. We had to sacrifice right now in the current in order to invest in our future. That's what it takes. It takes sacrifice. If you're broke, the cost of food, the cost of housing, the cost of everything. Everything has a price. What are you going to do about it? What can you do about it? Because remember, there's only so much that you can control. If it's outside of your control, like the cost of gas, the cost of food, the cost of rent, just focus on getting away from it. Focus on getting that done so that you're able to financially focus on yourself in the future. I know this isn't what people want to hear. This isn't what people like to hear. They want to hear people want to hear a confirmation of their bias. They want to hear the popular answer that they're not alone and everything that's going on in the world is somebody's fault, like the government or greedy corporate people. The greedy rich, the greedy wealthy that are holding them back. Now, I'm not a religious guy, but there's a quote from the Bible that I love, and that's the Matthew principle. From those who have nothing, everything will be taken. For those who have everything, more will be given. So if you have nothing, even more will be taken. Even more can be taken. If you set yourself up in the future for success, financial freedom, financial independence, retire early, fire, if you're able to set yourself up for that, which anybody can do, you will continue to receive more. So if you're broke, what more can you do? Have you ever thought about getting a second job so that you can secure your future? Dave Ramsey likes to say, go deliver pizzas. In fact, before I became a plumber, that's what I did as well. Actually, I didn't. My brothers delivered. I just worked at Domino's, and I was working 2 jobs. And I was doing that so that I could secure my financial future. So that I didn't have to work until I'm 70, 80, 90 years old, if I can live to 90. I think the average lifespan is 72. I only have 27 years left. That's average. Do you think I want to live working a 9 to 5 for those 27 years? I've already sold enough of my life to my employers. I've had several different jobs. I can't buy my life back. I sold my time and my life on an agreement. I'm going to say something that's not of popular opinion. But your income is based off of the amount of value that you provide to society. A lot of people don't think about that at all. They just expect that someday they're going to become wealthy, or they deserve to become wealthy, even though they provide nothing. Or they provide a service that just about anybody can do. Minimum value, minimum wage. Maximum value, maximum wage. You know, doing these YouTube videos is, I'm not doing it to get rich. In fact, the odds of actually getting rich off of starting a YouTube channel is pretty small. I'm only here to try to help people. This is going to be a retirement project for me. It's going to give me something to look forward to every day. It's something that I can do every day and better myself, hone my skills, turn it into a craft, maybe make a little bit of money. But when I retire in 4.5 years, I don't need to work anymore. I don't need to worry. We'll see what the channel looks like in 4.5 years. One thing's for certain, I couldn't do this without you. I've said it before in other videos. It's easy to quit. It's easy to find a bias to confirm, excuse me. It's easy to find a confirmation of our bias. We realize that there's other people in the world that are struggling financially, and we think that it makes us feel good to know that other people are struggling just like us. But what you don't see is, when you're looking for a bias confirmation, you're just confirming to yourself. You're manifesting more negativity. You're manifesting more broke ideas. You're manifesting more of what it is that you think you don't want. Or you are manifesting what you don't want. You need to look for people that are going to lift you up. A rising tide lifts all ships, right? Focus on things that are positive. Focus on elevating yourself and your life. Focus on increasing your income and decreasing your consumption. Stop going out to fast food restaurants. Stop going out to eat at fancy restaurants. Get rid of the car. Get rid of the credit cards. Get rid of everything that you don't need. Anything and everything that doesn't serve you. Anything that costs you money. Get rid of it. It's extremely overwhelming to think about getting out of debt. It's extremely overwhelming to think about changing your life and downsizing your life. But it's necessary for your future. It's necessary for the future you and your future family. If you're working a 9-to-5 job and you have tons of debt, you are guaranteeing yourself staying at that job that you don't like, or staying at that wage, because your boss isn't going to give you a higher wage. He's not going to increase your wage, and you're going to be afraid to look at other options. You're going to be afraid to leave what you feel at the time is comfortable. You're going to be afraid to change your situation because you have so much debt, because you don't know how you're going to pay your bills. You don't know how you're going to pay for that debt. And what you know right now is the devil you know, not the comfort that you should know. You are increasing the amount of risk involved. Versus if you get rid of your debt, you are decreasing the amount of risk that you have and the amount of risk involved. You're simplifying your life. Focus your attention on less, not more. One of the things that holds us back in life is our ego. We're too proud. We're too proud to admit that maybe we need help mentally. We're too proud to ask for help when times get rough. We're too proud to drive a beater. Going back to the cars, right? You know, if I wanted to go buy a Lamborghini, I could. Instead, I went and bought a Pontiac Vibe as a commuter. I got the Pontiac depreciation with Toyota reliability. I get 35 miles a gallon, and I don't have to worry about it. That thing's gonna run me another 5-10 years before I have to replace anything major on it. Even still, the point is, even though you might be able to afford something, to pay cash for it, or even though you might be able to afford the payments, think about what it's doing to your future. Think about what would happen if you're 20 years old and you're able to invest $300 a month instead of making that $300 a month car payment for the rest of your life. By the age of 60, you'll be a multimillionaire off of that $300 a month. Instead, you're gonna blow that $300 a month on a car payment. It's going to make you broke. You're gonna go spend $8 at Starbucks on that coffee instead of making it at home for a couple of cents. You're gonna eat junk food out of a box because you think it's easier than cooking an actual meal. It saves you time, even though it's slowly killing you. You know, I love hiking. I love being able to go out in the forest with my wife, enjoy our time together in nature. It's one of our favorite hobbies, and it doesn't cost us a dime. It's healthy, it's good for us, keeps us strong. We're able to grow closer together while doing it, spending quality time with each other, with our loved ones. I guess what I'm getting at is being broke is a mindset. Once again, people aren't going to want to hear that. That's the wrong answer because it doesn't confirm their bias. I get it. Times are tough financially, but you don't have a choice. You have to create your life intentionally. Everybody's broke for some reason or another. People are broke mentally, physically, and financially. And we can all help each other get out of it. That's all I got for today, guys. I appreciate you showing up. I hope you showed up for yourselves. If you got anything out of this, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, share it with somebody. If there's anybody you know that might get something out of it, I appreciate y'all. Peace.